What does this mean, healing our inner child?
Yeah. Okay. So we never outgrow our inner child. It is that younger part of ourselves that is still 5 or 7 or 9 years old. And whether we realize it or not, our relationship with them has a huge impact on our lives. And so during the formative years of childhood, really up to 10 years old, that's when we learn about emotions and safety and who we are in the world and forming connections. So when an experience makes us feel unsafe or unworthy or unloved at that age, and no adult steps in to offer comfort or recognition or acceptance, that pain can linger for years. So our inner child exists alongside our adult identity, which means various parts of ourselves can sometimes be stuck at different ages. When nurtured and acknowledged and loved, our inner child brings creativity and inspiration and joy. However, when it's neglected or wounded, it can leave us feeling disconnected and unfulfilled and play out in patterns that are not healthy or helpful for us.
All right, well, per usual, you've stopped me dead in my tracks because the minute you said, think, about when you were 5 years old, I mean, immediately you do go back to those places as a child and, safety and emotions and feelings like that, yes, are full-time underdevelopment. So if we're wanting to heal that inner child, what does that exactly mean and why is that important?
Yeah, so many of our core ideas about the world are formed before the age of 10. And our brains are not rational or at a logical stage yet. And we have at this age an egocentric view of the world, which means we believe everything that happens in our environment is linked to us or caused by us. We aren't yet fully aware that other people, including our parents, are separate beings with their own lives. For instance, if a kid's parents are divorcing, they might blame themselves and think it's because they're bad, rather than understanding that the grown-ups are having relationship problems. Or if a child's mother is acting distant, they might believe it's because they are unlovable rather than understanding that she was stressed or maybe depressed. So if you had difficult experiences in your childhood, like abuse or abandonment or neglect, you might have felt that somehow you were at fault or even deserving of it. And even if you only have vague memories of these experiences, they could still be affecting you deeply to this day. Because trauma that gets triggered brings us right back to being a kid who didn't feel good enough, who didn't feel safe, who felt rejected or helpless. They can be big or little experiences. And when this happens, we lock a part of ourselves away because we want to protect it. And we split from our inner child, and we need to reintegrate that part of ourselves. And healing that wounded inner child is the process of giving ourselves what we didn't receive as a child. And it allows us to integrate them back in to who we are. And not all of us have had like major trauma in our childhoods, but all of us have experienced times when our needs weren't met. So even if your home life was largely a happy one, no person's younger years are completely free of confusion or disappointment.
Again, you help explain these catchphrases, these throwaway words, these inner child. Like you might hear this in passing, but when you ground it in saying that as a child you're very egocentric, it really does help me understand, why you see the world that way. And why, when you're hurt, you take it so personally. Super, super helpful. All right, well, for all of us out there who want to help heal that inner child, how about some tips?
The first is we've got to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge the past trauma, or it will have a hold on us in the future and in the present. And we have to stop judging the trauma. Whatever happened, it wasn't your fault. You were just a kid. And those feelings are real. And we have to acknowledge the pain and feel sad for that little girl or that little boy who felt abandoned, who felt overlooked. You might even visualize yourself physically hugging and holding your younger self. Number two is write a letter to your inner child. What do you want to say to your younger self? And these letters are your private space for expression and release and healing. And there's no wrong way to do it. Whatever you feel compelled to say, write it down. And then connect with them more. And connecting with your inner child can be as simple as doing things you loved to as a kid, whether it was drawing or dancing or spending time in nature. Because when our inner child feels safe and steady, it lets us blossom because it's like an anchor. If our inner child is wobbly, as adults, we're going to be insecure. When our inner child feels safe and steady, we're going to feel confident and comfortable. And we don't want to go through life as the 10-year-old who didn't feel good enough. When you do the work, you'll notice a sense of inner peace and greater self-acceptance. And when you can heal your inner child, you make room for the joyful part to take center stage.
Oh, I do. I want to hug 5-year-old Nicole right now.
Do it. Just hug that little Nicole and tell her she is loved, she is wanted, she is safe.
Oh, well, thank you as always. You make me feel wanted and safe and seen.
Likewise, sister.
Heather and I care for you deeply. Your inner child, your adult person, we want you to care for your entire being. Be sure to take good care of yourself.